Hey y'all, it's your favorite duck here, Derek the Duck. And today we're going to talk about the sports betting that I did this summer. Yes, I know nothing about sports, but I do like sports betting, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I thought, I would have some fun with sports betting. A lot of it's because it's kind of easier than going into like a casino or something, especially like when I was on a train heading to, I was like going, I had just crossed the border from Texas into Louisiana, and I was just excited to, just have a little fun, a little entertainment, it's entertainment purposes only, with some money and see if I could get a handle of baseball. I love baseball. Well, I love like popcorn and hot dogs and like the organ music and stuff like that. And just, watching the game a little bit. I don't really understand it completely. I know that there's bases and runs and like a home run, but yeah, it's a pretty cool game. The uniforms are awesome. I think I would look good in some of those. And you know, just beer and stuff. So I thought, let's let's do a little sports betting. I got some extra money from a crypto, so why not have a little fun? Entertainment purposes only. So let me tell you kind of what I did this summer, and you can tell me how ridiculous I am, but I already know, so let's get right into it. So, like I said, I was on the Amtrak and I had just crossed from Texas into Louisiana where it's legal to do sports betting. And I looked up, some games on my laptop and on my phone, and I saw that the Philadelphia Phillies were playing. And I don't know who they're playing against. They're called the Athletics, but I don't think they have like a city, so I'm going to call them the West Sacramento Athletics. And I bet on that, and that was $50 I bet, with a possibility of winning $66.13. And would you believe it? I checked the score while I was, sitting on the train, and the Duck won. So I won $16.13 on that one. And then once I had reached New Orleans, I stopped by the Caesar's Palace, formerly Harrah's, and I decided to bet on the Boston Red Sox to win versus the Baltimore Orioles. It was a minus 120 odds. That wasn't like the best odds, but I'd had luck with the Boston Red Sox before, so I thought maybe this could work out. I bet $50 with a possibility of a $41.67 win, and I watched the game there at the sportsbook at Caesar's Palace, and they did win, so the Duck wins $41.67. And on that same day, the 24th, I decided to bet on the Texas Rangers to beat the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox typically do poorly. It was a minus 295 odds. That looked pretty good to me. I bet $50, and of course, the White Sox ended up winning. $50 lost. And the next one on that same day, Detroit Tigers versus the Cleveland Guardians. I'm not even sure who the Cleveland Guardians are. I thought Detroit would win. Minus 340 odds looked pretty good to me. I bet $50, and as it turns out, the Cleveland Guardians, whoever they are, ended up winning, and so the Duck lost $50. So sad. And the next game that same day, it was the Philadelphia Phillies, again, playing the West Sacramento Athletics, again, if that's what they're called. And since they had won for me yesterday, I decided to bet on them again, this time increasing my bet to $200. And the Phillies won again, and this time I collected $54.05. The next day, May 25th, I decided to bet on the Detroit Tigers again, even though they had lost the previous day. Again, they were playing Cleveland Guardians, minus 255 odds. I only bet $10 this time, and I did win, so $3.92. Then I decided to bet on the Boston Red Sox again, like the day before. They were playing the Orioles again. This time it was minus 130 odds. I bet $10, and this time they actually lost, and so I lost $10. Very, very sad. Next, I did the Brewers to beat the Pirates with a negative 620 odds. Of course, they won. I bet $65 and ended up winning $10.48. Then I decided to bet $10 on the Philadelphia Phillies beating the A's again like they did the night before, but they did not win this time and I lost $10. Terrible. And then I got it into my head that maybe the Los Angeles Dodgers would beat the New York Mets at minus 102 odds. I bet $15. They did not beat them, and so I lost that $15. On the train ride home after my Louisiana trip, I decided to put $40 on the Boston Red Sox beating the Milwaukee Brewers. It was a minus 156 odds. Guess what? They did not beat them, and so I lost $40. Heaven help us. A few days later, I found myself in Denver, where I played on FanDuel while waiting at the airport. I bet $155, a large sum, that the Seattle Mariners would beat the Washington Nationals. They didn't. I lost $155. Then at the end of the month, May 30th, I headed over to Las Vegas, and I got a comp stay at the Rio, so of course I was at the Rio, and I decided to go to the sportsbook at the Rio and bet on the Cubs winning against the Cincinnati Reds. I only bet $2 for this. You probably noticed that I've been slowing down my bets and making them smaller and smaller, because losing so much takes a toll on me. But it was fun being there at the sportsbook and watching the game on the big screen. And I was hoping that I would win, you know. I get as much joy out of a $2 bet as a $200 bet. And they have really great burgers at the food court near the sportsbook, so I got myself an Attaboy burger. The Cubs did not win that game, so I lost my $2, but I loved that burger. And then I went over to the kiosk at the sportsbook and did my first ever parlay. I needed both the Cubs and the Reds to win in order for me to win. So I bet $4 and it didn't happen and I lost it. And after that losing streak, I finally won something. I bet $10 that the Baltimore Orioles would beat the Chicago White Sox. I watched it there at the sportsbook and the Orioles won, and so did I. And then I did another parlay. Look at this one. I was hoping that the Atlanta Braves would win and the St. Louis Cardinals would win. I was still kind of experimenting with this. I mean, I wasn't going to go crazy. So I only did $2. It would have been a nice win of $3.60, but it didn't all happen the way I wanted it to, and therefore I didn't win. So I lost $2. And then I placed another bet, the last one at the Rio, and this one was for the Kansas City Royals to beat the Detroit Tigers. This was a plus 280 odds, so it wasn't likely that it would occur, and it didn't. But I only did a $2 bet, so it wasn't the end of the world. As I was leaving Vegas, I played an over-under game with the Yankees-Dodgers game. I ended up winning $6.96 on BetMGM app. And finally, on May 31st, I did a parlay, another one. And this one I actually won. I bet $1 that both the Cubs and the Blue Jays would win their respective games. And they both did, and so I won $1.55. Wow. So as you can see, I had all these bet slips, and I was having fun. I was having a beer. I was enjoying myself. But I did lose a lot of the games that I played. I lost more than the ones that I won. So to talk about what I did this summer, um, I ended up winning 8 of the different games that I constructed. One of them was a parlay, but most of them were straight money line games. So I won 8 of those, and that was $141.91 that I won. Okay, so that's good, good. However, I lost 11 games that I played, and that was $340 lost. So overall, it was a loss. About $200 lost. But if I had to put a price on the fun, you know, getting excited for the game, those baseball games are so much more interesting when I'm playing in them, because it's, I've got my money in there and that sort of thing. So I had a good time. I was entertained. I'm sure I got a bunch of free beer somewhere in there. So I think it was all worth it in the end. But don't gamble. I hope that's something you learned from this. Maybe in the future I can play more. I think I'm going to stop with sports right now, for the rest of the summer and maybe the rest of the year, because I can see that I have more learning to do. I think I'd like to learn more about baseball, so that I can be a better bettor in the future. So we'll see. I don't know. Either way, I had fun. So thanks for watching my video. I hope you found it somewhat amusing. And yeah, we'll see you at the next one.